going with our gut probably earlier, and making some decisions a little bit earlier, as opposed to sitting back and overanalyzing.
Hey, welcome back to another HVAC Success Secrets Revealed with Thaddeus and Evan. Super excited for today's conversation. We get to have on an old friend of ours, someone who's been a guest on the show before as well. That is Nathan Keller. He is the co-founder of Free2Grow, which is a home service-based company that is focused on, home servicing company, I should say, focusing on helping the trades with their front-end call management. And last time we had them on the show, they've gone through some pretty big pivots in their organization, and really excited to bring that part of the conversation in around how do you pivot? How do you completely transition and transform your business and how it is that you serve customers? It's no easy feat. I think they've done a pretty fantastic job with it. I know him and I have stayed in touch quite a bit over the last 2 years, just going back and forth on some of the transitions and changes that they've gone through. But it's pretty remarkable to see what they've done and how impactful those changes have been. And so getting into assessing risk and how do you go about doing that, I think is going to be a pretty fantastic conversation for today.
My words exactly. I was hoping you're going to leave with something else so you give me something to say. But hey, you took all the words right out of my mouth. So there we go. Of course, today's episode would not be possible without our sponsors in no particular order: Elite Call, Chirp, ServiceWorld, Expo, and On Purpose Media. Have you ever thought about outbounding your database to fill your dispatch boards with lucrative service and sales appointments? Well, this fall is going to be huge for that, by the way. So enter in Elite Call, a US-based call center that does just that. For over 20 years, their dedicated teams don't just make calls. They integrate directly with the most popular of CRMs to be able to do what they need to do on a regular basis. And so don't let your competition get ahead. Let Elite Call connect with your customers first. Visit elitecall.net to learn more.
Love Elite Call. And we have Chirp, who also helps with outbounding your database, but they do it in a different way. Transform your home service business with Chirp, the ultimate automation toolbox. Capture more leads, connect instantly, and skyrocket your sales. Summertime, lead flows high. You need to have systems in place to be able to convert those leads into booked opportunities. And that's exactly what Chirp does. They integrate seamlessly into platforms like ServiceTitan and House Call Pro, offering automated text messages, emails, and even ringless voicemails. You can also boost your Google reviews with them as well, and your customer loyalty with proven rehash programs. Schedule your demo today and get an exclusive 25% off your first 3 months. Visit chirp.com/HSSR and start boosting.
All right. Oh, perfect. I cut you off there. My bad. So join us actually for the most magical contractor experience at the ServiceWorld Expo in Orlando, Florida from October 15th to 17th this year. So enjoy some keynotes, breakout sessions, 4-hour workshops, social mixers, an exhibit hall with industry-leading products and podcasts like ours. Network with other residential contractors, hear from amazing keynotes, all designed to help contractors like you elevate your business. Register now. Use our promo code SECRETS100 for $100 off. Visit serviceworldexpo.com to register today, and we'll see you there.
And last but certainly not least, we have On Purpose Media, your go-to home service marketing expert for all things web design, SEO, and PPC. We build stunning, user-friendly websites that convert visitors into phone calls, which is the most important thing when it comes to your website. You also get that enhanced visibility on Google where people are searching for your services when the problem arises, with effective pay-per-click ads and top-of-mind awareness SEO. And of course, we'll turn your online presence into a lead-generating powerhouse. Visit onpurposemedia.ca to start your digital transformation today. Nathan, what's going on, man? So we want to give us a quick update here on Free2Grow. We definitely want to dive into some of the difficulties and struggles that you guys were going through and where the pivot kind of came from. But give us a quick 30-second update here on what Free2Grow is, and then we'll dive into some of those pivots that you made.
Absolutely. Yeah, so Free2Grow, or as we call it internally, Free2Grow 2.0 here, is we are providing AI voice services for HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and garage door businesses. We're extending out past that as well. We're getting into some lawn care, some roofing with the advancements in AI and lack of need of thorough training of people and that sort of thing, we can get in those industries a lot easier. But we're still working in that core area of HVAC, electrical, and plumbing. So,
Love it.
yeah.
Voice
So
AI, what's that even mean? Somebody might be listening to like voice AI. How? Huh? What?
Yeah. So we actually have essentially automated AI voice that is taking calls for customers, booking them within their CRMs, sending out text message alerts, email alerts to customers when something gets booked. We're able to send those off to technicians. We're able to dispatch technicians for emergency purposes when we have a lot of other features and functionalities that are actually in our pipeline coming out in the next 30, 45 days here as well. So,
well, and
So
that's
does
the thing
that
exciting with AI is that things can happen so quick, and you have to pivot on a dime.
yeah, it's so fast.
it was probably more about the voice AI part. So like, are you I mean, there's two schools of thought when people look at this from the consumer side of things and calling into the business and hearing an AI and booking it directly in there. Some people want humans and some people don't want humans, and
Mm-hmm.
people understand that it might be an AI assistant helping out to be able to book things in there. When you look at, I guess, the nuances and complexities of sometimes a human being on the other end, are you fully replacing the CSR, or is this for overflow, or is this for
Our
evening time after hours, or is it all of the above?
so we have some smaller customers that are using it all the time. Our core business right now are customers that are using it for overflow, after hours, and weekends. And we have many, our scripting is completely customizable. We have some customers that aren't, choose not to introduce it as AI. We kind of tend to stay away from AI because people kind of get, still get a little creeped out by it, depending, just because lack of knowledge or whatever else. We will prompt it with, hey, this is so-and-so's digital assistant. We're able to answer your questions and get you on the schedule within 90 seconds. And that is a very, drops that barrier a little bit, and people tend to say, okay, great, I can get on the calendar.
Digital assistant. I love the rephrase and the reframe from AI.
Yeah.
Because you are right. When people hear like, hey, I'm your AI assistant.
Yep.
What? I got to trust you to AI. But hey, digital assistant. I mean, they know.
They know.
It's like it's like global warming versus climate change.
It really is. Yeah.
Same shit, just a different day.
Yeah. Well, it's reframing it, right? And
Right.
we do the same thing naturally anyways when it comes to sales, when it comes to CSRs and scripting and all of that kind of stuff. It's reframing whatever it is that we're trying to do. And I know there's many sales coaches that'll teach you to do that. Instead of calling it a capacitor that we need to replace, they'll call it something different so that it's framed differently in the customer's mind. So the pivot that you guys made, what frustrations were you having? And how did it get to that point where you finally said, like, what broke the camel's back, so to speak, for you to make this pivot?
Yeah. So going back so we're coming up to the end of our 5th year in business. And obviously, up until 6 months ago, we were a very human-based CSR as a service business, right? Where we had agents across the country that were taking calls, booking appointments, doing happy calls, all that stuff for our customers. 18 months ago, we developed an AI tool internally to integrate with our Slack in order for our agents to get information faster. So, they Slack to, I think it was, Slackbot. Hey, what's so-and-so's mailing address? Do they do this for the service? And it, spit out all this information. The developer that we were working with at the time, I just flat out asked him, I said, where's the voice play in all this? Like, how far out are we? Is this something that's kind of on your radar or anything like that? And he told me, he said, you know what, I can't tell you how far out it is because it's so unpredictable right now, but it's coming. I haven't heard anything that would be a useful, or a good use case for you yet, but keep your ears open, keep your eyes open, all that stuff, and watch out for it. I was like, okay, it sounds good. So 6 months ago, I heard a recording for a pest control business, and it was a pretty darn good recording. And I was like, you know what? I need to figure out who this is. I reached out to the guy. he's a one-man developer. He was doing sales, everything else. And this guy is young guy, dropped out of UPenn, been coding since he was 10, just off the wall smart, the type of technical person that everybody kind of hopes and dreams that they can find one day. And I talked to him and just said, hey, can you do this for, a certain subset of our customers? He said, yeah. So we started working with them. I had a very honest conversation with my partner, and we said, you know what, we really think the writing's on the wall here as far as the direction of where this is going. If we do this, we can service more customers at a lower price point, because before we were charging anywhere from $2,500 to $6,000 a month, depending on the size of the customer. We can cut that by, almost 7/8 at the end of the day. And we can really, make hay with this, service a lot of people 24/7, everything else. It's everything that, when you go to an outsourced human-based call center, it alleviates those issues, because with those you have, wait times before the call's even answered. When you get someone on the line, you get put on hold because they got to figure out what account they're working for and everything like that, and all this other stuff. And it eliminated that. So we started working with them, with a few of our customers, and we just said, you know what, let's try to acquire this guy's business. So we did. And he is our CTO now. He's awesome. Just like I said, off the page smart. We brought in a chief of science who works on our core infrastructure day in, day out, improving voices, latency, responses, just making things more human-like. And then we shifted a couple of our CSRs over to onboarding, essentially. So we have people with decades and decades of experience as CSRs that are now looking at this and helping script things out for people. And it makes their lives more enjoyable too, because they're not answering, 250 calls in a day. They're just, sitting back and working with owners and tweaking things here and there. And then we have a QA team that sits back and listens to calls and says good, bad, or otherwise, and then we make changes from there. As a human-based business, our onboarding time was anywhere from 3 weeks to 5 weeks, depending on how responsive customers would be, us bringing people on, training them. And every summer we would just, we would do this, right? Because we'd get busy with new customers. We'd have to hire people up. Our services would drop because we can't hire fast enough. And it wasn't working. So we just constantly had this revenue up and down. And now we're finally in this area where we're just steadily climbing, right? We would be happy. Last summer, we would be happy bringing, 2-3 customers on a month, and we're doing 10 a week. So
that's wicked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So a couple questions on this. Your QA team that's listening to the calls and judging it. Mm-hmm. How often, how many calls, like what percentage of calls are they actually listening to?
All of them.
And what is it that they're listening for?
They're listening for, calls that are ending quickly, right? And why, right? Is it a call that just dropped, or is it someone that's getting frustrated and didn't get escalated the right way? Because we can escalate calls from overflow purposes during business hours. We can escalate calls up to human people back in somebody's office. Or if they do have a manager that's available at night, we can send it off to them. They're listening for basic frustrations, and then when they're looking at it, and we have metrics involved where it's saying, okay, this is a good call, it got booked. This is a successful call, it got booked, yada yada. When we first started, I think our booking rate was in the 30 and 40%, and now we're north of 75%. So
love it,
and it's just constantly climbing. So.
So you guys doubled your booking rate.
Yeah.
We had somebody give a math example on what it would mean to do that. I think it was Brigham Dixon had that on our show. And like you double your booking rate, and like the cascading effects that it has on your business, phenomenal, especially after hours and weekends, like overnight. Like now you're not having somebody necessarily on the phones, but there's continuity in your scripting, right? The other thing is when you send it to a call center, now you don't know who's actually going to be answering the phone. There's actually like they have to pull up everything. They have to understand your business. The AI already knows it. It's already dialed in, and that's likely. I mean, I'm assuming probably one of the reasons why that booking rate has went up.
Yeah,
one of many reasons.
Exactly. It's the consistency, right? You're training
Yes.
you're training during the onboarding period, which takes about 5 days, right? Before I said that with a human-based business, it took 5 weeks, right? And after that, you're just making tweaks, right? You're changing a little thing here and there, but you're not having to retrain, a bunch of people over many different shifts or anything like that. You're just making the tweak.
Well, the thing I wanted to point out with it is the idea of having someone who is evaluating every single call that comes into the business and then is providing some type of a scoring system, even for whether you have a CSR or you have AI CSRs, you still need to provide that feedback back so that you can continue to improve and get better. Performance monitors, performance gained. You
Yep.
invested the time to be able to do that so you could get a better result at the end of the day and something that was even more sellable, right? How often is a home service company actually spending the time to do that? And that's a big, big issue that I know we've seen from a marketing side of things because we listen to calls.
Right. Well, and our idea behind it was, okay, let's be proactive about it, right? So we can have people that are listening to these calls, judging them, putting their grades on them. And then the next day we say, okay, here, this batch of calls, we got to make this improvement to fix this batch, right? And telling the customer about it, as opposed to a customer coming to us, later in the day and saying, so-and-so botched this call, right? So,
yeah. Imagine that, a vendor that actually comes to the customer proactively.
I don't have it very often.
All right. What would you say to the contractors that say, I don't want to lose the human element of it? I want to keep humans talking to humans and connecting with humans.
I get it, right? When we made this pivot, we lost a lot of customers that wanted to keep that human component. We made up that revenue in 3 weeks, but we definitely lost some. I understand it, but I think there's not one sales call that I go into right now where they're not dealing with the same stuff that we dealt with when we had CSRs that were working remote. And and believe me, the ones that we kept were the really good ones that were diligent, and we moved them into positions that are better quality of life and everything else, right? They have a more enjoyable job now. But there's people that don't show up to work. They have hangnails and they can't type, right? Like all this stuff. It's like everybody's heard every excuse in the book, and it's like every contractor is dealing with the same stuff, right?
Every business is dealing with that.
They are.
In terms of analyzing the risk and determining, how to pivot and why to pivot, and then actually doing it, what sort of learning lessons learned were from that? What was the biggest takeaway? If you were to do it again, what would you not do?
That's a good question. I think in a lot of times we probably, as owners, my partner and I can tend to overanalyze things. We probably, I think the AI thing, the AI voice thing, we're still kind of early on in this right now. There's a lot of players out there, but all the other players along with ourselves are early on in this. I think we're selling a lot, they're selling a lot, but it's, I think going with our gut probably earlier, and making some decisions a little bit earlier, as opposed to sitting back and overanalyzing.
So how do you balance chasing the business you're becoming with the business that you're in right now?
How do you mean, Evan?
So now you've pivoted, you've transitioned into being the AI call center.
Mm-hmm.
That's the business that you are right now. The business, because there's two types of business that you're always running. Tony talks about this, Tony Robbins. Got to mention him every time, check him off on the bingo sheet.
Hey, it's Tony Robbins, everyone.
But he talks about the two types of businesses that you run. You run the business that you are today and the business that you're becoming tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were running the business of human-based call center while testing out the AI. Now you're in the AI game, and now you're testing out different service lines to be able to continue to grow that and continue to expand and help more people. How do you balance the focus as a business owner? Because you're getting pulled, and it's so fun to continue to chase new things. But until you get that thing that you are today to being the best it could possibly be, you might not have it tomorrow.
Right.
So how do you continue to balance those two things of focusing on today versus getting too caught up in what you're becoming tomorrow?
So I would say the way we're balancing that right now is obviously, with the acquisition of Jerry's company, who's our CTO, and bringing in Ben, who is another one that has a hell of a resume when it comes to machine learning, letting those guys focus on tomorrow, right? And Ben's focused a little bit on the here and now with the current infrastructure and keeping that, going and everything else. With Jerry focused on the features and functionalities that we're getting to, right, further down the line, and how we can continue to add to that stack. It's allowed for my partner and I, and he works more on partnerships with larger organizations and that sort of thing. And myself focus on sales, focusing on, okay, the day to day, right? Let's, focus on sales, focus on logos and continue down that path. And then, we meet as the four of us every single day, but then, every 6 weeks we have kind of a big Friday meeting where we're talking about future, right? Where we're talking about, okay, where are we on the roadmap of things, and what's the market like for it, right? And there's been ideas out there that we've all talked about, swatted down, and then there's other ideas where it's like, holy crap, that's something that's really, really good, and a lot of those ideas are coming from our current customer base, where they're like, well, can it do this? And the answer is, yeah, it can do that. And then taking that and basically turning it into a product. So
you guys saw the problem and knew that you were not the ones that needed to solve it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You had to go out and find the person who was going to lead you into that and lead you down that path. And now you've given them the responsibility of, you're our future. We're going to go get shit done today.
Yep.
At what point did you realize that you needed to find someone that was going to be this person for you? And how did that relationship start? How did you maintain it and then lead into the acquisition of it?
Well, it started by me cold calling this guy, right? And setting up,
afraid to pick up the phone.
Yeah, setting up a demo with them and saying, hey man, I heard what you have. I'm interested in hearing more and how that can work for our customers. And then it just organically grew from there. And we said, okay, that guy was trying to be everything to everybody with his company, right? He was doing the development, he was doing the marketing, he was doing the sales, and it's like the guy was stretched so thin. And now him able to do what he does best, which is focus on technology and growth and development and that sort of thing. But it was a very organic process. It was me talking to him, and then all of a sudden we had conversations with Charlie and myself and him, and then all of a sudden, we're based in St. Louis, Missouri. We bring him into St. Louis. He's based in San Francisco. Our chief of science is out in New York. And it was like, okay, this works well. We got this really, it's a cool team. We have a great onboarding specialist, and she's been a CSR with us for 20 plus years, and she's doing a fantastic job with these customers. Our four partners in this, which is Jerry, Ben, Charlie, and myself, we have a very unique relationship. Charlie and I are kind of the meathead ex-athlete, like, let's go sell, knock down doors, and just, go through things. And then we have these really high technical guys that are constantly, the wheels are turning and thinking about new products and improvements. And that's where, but we've meshed incredibly well. So
that leadership dynamic of different personalities, four partners, probably personalities, and for lack of a better word, egos in a room. You mentioned the ex-athletes. Probably things tend to have a little bit more of that part of things. If somebody has an idea and you're having this dialogue and there's disagreements, what sort of conversations are you guys having to be able to disarm that and be able to move forward?
You know what? It's one that we all know our roles really, really well. And obviously, if there's if it's something that they're coming up with, and I'm sitting there going, guys, I'm the one that's talking to customers day in, day out, or prospects day in, day out. We can't go this route. We have to go this route, right? And they'll understand what that is. And then at the same time, them coming back and saying, okay, we've been talking to the customers that have signed up, and here's some changes, and here's some additional features and functionality that we need or want or should be doing. And then it's me going, okay, that makes sense. And then putting that pitch together on how we sell that. But we all have our roles and responsibilities, right? It's with Jerry working on kind of the future state of tech, Ben doing the current state of tech, and then, Charlie doing like the high level business development, and then myself working in sales. We all kind of stay in our lanes as much as we can. But when it comes to decision making, it doesn't really get contentious, right? Because I think we all understand where our level of expertise lies.
Let's dive into the random question generator, and then I want to segue into another topic, one that you kind of mentioned within that side those lines. And so, random question generator is brought to you by On Purpose Media, where, of course, anytime that you want a free marketing assessment or analysis, hit us up, onpurposemedia.ca/marketing-analysis. Hopefully, that was the right link. Evan's been reading that out lately, so if it's wrong, blame him, not me. Actually, no, just blame me. I'll take all the blame on that one. So, random question. We get to ask you 3 questions, or we get to give you 3 choices. You don't get to know what the question is. Do you want question 1? Do you want question 2? Or do you want question 3?
3.
All right. What was the last thing that you Googled, and it can't be a work question?
Oh man.
It's like, quick, go delete my history. Delete my history. Look at that one.
Honestly, I think my
private browser or
no, I got a text from my wife because my kids are starting school tomorrow, and it had something to do with their school, because they have some, like, when they want to buy lunch, and we had to figure out how to log in and fill their accounts with money. I think that's literally it. So yeah.
I guess I'm looking at the future state, and so again, I mean, you guys can keep what you guys are working on close to your vest. When you look at a home services business, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, obviously leveraging a service like you guys would make sense, because obviously from the CSR side of things. What sort of AI tech, what other AI tech should a home service business be looking at putting into their business?
I would say anything on the marketing side. I truly believe is a good value add for them. That's where we're engaged with a marketing company now, and it's like everything is being delivered so much faster because of that. There's so much out there. The big thing I would say, and is it's the technology is great. It works fast. It's getting more and more accurate, but it's also kind of, you still have to do your own homework and put your own work into it a bit. We have a really good client that's actually publishing an article about their transition to AI. It's a HVAC business out of Columbus, Ohio, and the owner's publishing an article in the ACHR News that should be out, I think, September, October. And they made the switch to AI for overflow after hours and weekends. And he sent us a draft of the article before he sent it into him. And it's really honest, transparent, and really good when he made this transition, and he said it's not a silver bullet, but it definitely solves a lot of issues. Right. And he did this in the middle of peak season. Right.
What are the big, I guess, hurdles or questions or frustrations that owners have had so far with the AI, or why are they afraid to get started with it?
There's a lot that are in, I've gotten a lot of like regional pushback. Hey, I have a lot of older customers, not sure how they're going to deal with this. We get a lot of that. And then with that, it's like, okay, it takes time. Totally get it. I don't have a good rebuttal for that. The first one we launched with was in Dothan, Alabama, which is a pretty rural area. And it went and it's gone really, really well, and continue to do better week over week. But it's, I would see we get a lot of regional pushback. We get a lot of owners that really say, "Oh, I don't know how my customers would feel." But it's like, okay, I get that. And that's where, they're getting emotional about it. I think where the owners out there that sit there and say, you know what, if I over a weekend, if I get 15 calls and I book 12 of them and I have 3 people that are off put by the AI, I don't care. Right.
Yep. I'm going to figure out some math here because I want to, I'm going to use some random examples on this. But so you think about it, if you, let's just say for $1 million in revenue, so this is where the rebuttal comes into any owner that's like, I'm on the fence. Well, you said you went from 30 to 40% booking rate to a 75% booking rate. Was that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have to get, let's just say $1 million in revenue, $2,000 blended ticket, right? Making it up, 500 calls roughly. Okay. Again, forgive my math if I'm not exactly 100% accurate on this. Different businesses are going to be a little bit different, right? So 500 calls, you get to $1 million in revenue. That's 1,250 calls into your business, right? If you were to book every single one of those calls, that's at 40%. If you go to 75, that's 937 calls. Okay, 937 times up by 2,000, that's $1.875 million. You can literally add, this is just a random math example, right? Massage your numbers and kind of how you look at that. You could add $800,000 for every $1 million in revenue, theoretically, if you just increase your booking rate by adding in AI to it. Hey, Mr. Business Owner, do you think people are already doing it? Your numbers right there. You've literally almost doubled a booking rate by having a digital assistant answer the calls.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to leave us with here before we wrap up?
No, man, I appreciate the time, guys. This is always fun. So
always fun. Do you want to hit him with the last question?
I'll drop this one more time, free-2-grow.com. We'll put that in the show notes. And if you just want to book a call with him directly, calendly.com/Nate-Free2Grow is how you get in touch with them. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come on and chat with us about some of the things that you guys are doing. And more importantly, the pivot. I think that was a pretty big business lesson and learning lesson from a lot of people, is to just trust that gut a lot more, right? And I think if we have that natural intuition as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as leaders, we're probably in better spots. And that speed to implementation is a key thing. So thank you for being raw and real on that.
Thanks, guys.
You're very welcome. And until next time.
Thanks.
Cheers.
See ya.
Well, that's a wrap on another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. Before you go, 2 quick things. First off, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/HVAC Revealed. The other thing, if you took one tiny bit of information out of this show, no matter how big, no matter how small, all we ask is for you to introduce this to one person in your contacts list. That's it. That's all. One person. So they too can unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Until next time, cheers.